I read an article very recently, Robert, that talked about all the places that you should look to go to if World War III breaks out. Like, what are the safest, best places? And I'm going to lay it on you.
Okay, all right,
like the
I'm
top
ready.
ones, but I want to know, like, if World War III breaks out, where are you going?
Canada.
You think they would let you in?
Yeah, they're really nice. They're really nice.
Super nice.
They're super
we
nice
know
up
some.
there.
We do know some Canadians.
Yeah, yeah.
and
I would go to
all
Canada. I would go to the
very
Canadian
lovely.
Rockies. That's where I would go. The Canadian Rockies.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah.
they would.
Because nobody's going to bomb there.
Nobody would. Sorry.
Yeah.
So here, there's an article. I'll put this in the show notes because everybody loves a good World War III article.
Sure, of course.
It lists the places, the number one places about where people are going to go.
Okay.
Do you want to take a guess at number one?
I'm gonna guess it's like Hawaii or something.
It's even worse. Not that anything's wrong with Hawaii.
Right.
Antarctica.
Well, that's just stupid.
It might be stupid, but Chile.
So dumb.
Chile is on the list. Fiji.
I weep for humanity.
Fiji is on the list, and actually, a place where I'll be going quite soon, Iceland.
Yeah.
Iceland is on.
Yeah.
On
Let's
the
go
list.
to all the places that don't have any food. The weather is completely ridiculous, and there's nowhere to live. That's just absolutely that's such an American point of view. God, how stupid are we?
Sounds like Los Angeles.
There you go.
Oh, he didn't.
Just remember, everybody has your story to tell. Tell it well. Of this old marketing.
And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This old marketing. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to This Old Marketing, proudly brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. And I'm Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 447 for Friday, September 27th, 2024. And with me, as always, as he always is, my pal, my colleague, and a guy who apparently never got invited to Diddy's house, Mr. Joe Pulizzi.
You did not go with a Diddy party.
Yeah,
you did not.
You didn't make it to one of the freakouts or whatever they're called.
I have to tell you, I didn't know much about it, but a few of my friends were telling me about
it. Every time I hear a little more about it, I get more and more disturbed. It's just
that's exactly right. So I literally knew nothing about the whole freakouts or anything.
Yeah,
and I decided to read a couple articles just to educate myself because there were conversations happening, and I don't like to be I like to take over a conversation when I start talking, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
because I didn't have any information, and boy, those are. Talk about disturbing.
Well, my favorite so far, I saw an article. No. I didn't read the article, but I did see a headline on one of the major news outlets. The headline of the article was Diddy spokesperson explains 1,000 bottles of baby oil. And I was like, I kind of wanted to click on it to understand what that explanation would be, but it's not an Onion headline. That is a real headline.
One of my friends brought up the similar thing, and the first thing that was said was, you don't use baby oil. I'm like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. No, who was it? Was it? I don't want to throw out names without knowing if it's real, but is it Usher or was it Drake who deleted their tweets? Somebody did.
I don't know. I don't know.
We should probably look this up because it's just ridiculous. Some big name.
Oh, there's a lot of big names. Well, there's a lot of big names being.
Nothing says I'm innocent.
Situation. Yeah.
Like nothing says I had nothing to do with this. Right. Like deleting your tweet stream.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, oh, I don't even know what you're talking about. Why are all your tweets gone? I don't know.
I don't know. I just felt like cleaning house. I'm just Marie
they were
Kondo,
all geolocated.
Twitter stream.
Probably. Yeah. So that's unfortunate. But that seems to happen in Los Angeles.
It does. It does everywhere. I'm I'm surprised it wasn't in my neighborhood. I mean, that's the only thing.
Yeah, I mean, Drake's right down the street. Is he still right down the street from you?
He
Or did
does not
move?
live here anymore, is what I hear. He does not.
Oh,
He's
I wonder
still,
if
I
that's
think he
part
still
of the
owns.
conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean the big hullabaloo was he bought 4 houses on a cul-de-sac in our neighborhood, and basically then closed off the cul-de-sac. Which
is brilliant, by the way.
Yeah, it's kind of a smart move.
It's
right?
just illegal.
Yeah, it's just that was the question. Was it illegal, like to be able to block access to a street like that? And he had guards and security sort of watching it and stuff like that. And it's a cul-de-sac, so there's no real reason you need to go down that street unless it dead ends. So there was arguments on both sides, but but my understanding is that he no longer lives in the neighborhood. Same with Kanye. He doesn't live in the neighborhood either.
Kanye, but you're still near the Kardashian house, right?
Yes, many of them.
Okay.
Yes, they own multiple houses here in our little neighborhood. Yes.
Don't you feel special with that whole thing?
Yes, that's what they say. That's what they say. I'm special.
Yeah. So what have you been up to? I mean, I saw you recently, so that was fun.
I know it was. Yeah, absolutely. It's been work. I mean,
it's just like, oh yeah,
fine.
Yeah, we saw each other.
Huh.
Yeah, I thought it was special.
Well, I haven't. Well, to be clear, I haven't been the traveling, the traveling Wilbury that you've been over the last couple of weeks. Just on a whim, going down to the panhandle of Florida and figuring out football games and all that. My Cowboys managed to get their ass kicked again this weekend, so it was an unpleasant Sunday. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we did not have a good. I was at the game, the Browns,
the Giants game. Oh my gosh, what the heck?
Well, at least you came back. At least you showed like some life. We were done. I'm tired.
When are you going to bench that quarterback? When are you going to bench that quarterback?
Well, here's what I learned on Sunday. I won't talk too much about football, but I learned that the Browns have many problems. They don't have an identity at all. They used to be a running game.
Yeah.
Offensive minded, and then defense, nothing showing up right now. They totally forgot the run. I mean, Nick Chubb's been hurt, but still. Yeah, it doesn't like I think they ended the game with 2 starters on the offensive line playing out of position because the other ones didn't know those positions. I was just like, oh, this is really good. This is wonderful news.
This is really good.
People were not happy. Cleveland was not happy. But let's be on the positive side. The Cleveland Guardians clinched the Central Division for baseball. I know you don't care anything about it, but it's a very special team.
Well, the Dodgers are doing well, and
Ohtani.
Ohtani is, good. I mean, crushing it. I mean, it was like there was a huge furor over the fact that he went 50 and 50, right? 50 stolen bases and 50 home runs. And then literally the next day was 51-51. And then the next day
did it in the same
52-52.
game.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Did it in the same game. Yeah, he is a generational talent, as they say. And just it's probably a good idea that they don't pitch him because he's more than worth the $700 million that they're paying him.
Yeah,
to just hit. He doesn't even play a position anymore. He's just DH.
Yeah,
so that's how valuable.
Yeah,
he is. So maybe it'll be LA and Cleveland. That because it's certainly not going to be Dallas and Cleveland in the Super Bowl this year.
No, sure. That is. So
we're going to have to.
Yeah. Well, our predictions are. Our predictions are already falling apart from our NFL episode.
Oh, no. I feel good about it. I got Jets and Rams.
Dude.
Rams finally won a game.
Finally. Yeah. They beat San Francisco, though. I mean, that's something.
Jets are looking good.
Jets are fine. They're going to be they'll have their collapse.
Yeah. I'm
Miami, though. Oh my gosh, I had picked Miami, and Miami's just like.
Yeah, you were definitely wrong.
Well, I mean, that poor kid. I mean, that kid is just. I feel so bad for that kid, Tua. So.
Yeah, it's a dangerous game. Although what's interesting is you see all the bubble helmets now. A lot more bubble helmets. Pretty soon, everybody's going to have a bubble helmet.
Yeah,
it looks weird on the field right now because it's only one. Maybe when everybody goes to the bubble helmets.
Yeah. I think some people like them, some people don't. Yeah. I mean, I was hearing some of the people who are wearing them. They're saying it doesn't add any weight and it doesn't restrict your vision. And the way they can do it now with pulling the sort of cover over it so that it has the team's logo and it doesn't look weird. I think it's fine. I think they should all wear them. I mean,
it still looks weird, but sometimes you feel like nut, sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's
got nuts.
Mounds
don't.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. We got a good
show.
We got a good show. We have a good show. Our big story this week. We are going to talk about X and a couple of things that have brought them to the mainstream media news this week. One, their sort of breaking news, really, as we will cover it, which is their new global transparency report. Sounds very fancy, but also they're now allowing blocked users to actually see content that you make public. And we'll talk a little bit about what that really means. Then we'll talk about the New York Times. They are launching subscription-based podcasts on Spotify. And so, interestingly, they're monetizing their podcast in a subscription-based way. Fancy also with that. The Onion is coming back to print. They have released a new strategy about how the Onion is going to come back, and print is much to Joe's, I'm sure, happiness is a big piece of what their new strategy looks like. Then we'll talk about magazine publishers, because why not? It's a nice segue. We'll talk about magazine publishers and why some people think that magazine publishers might be the next winner in the new media wars. When we get to marketing winners and losers, I'm going to talk about the loser that is LinkedIn this week with the way that they've handled their optics about the AI terms and conditions. It feels like we just talked about this with Adobe not too long ago. And yeah, here we go. LinkedIn is doing the same stupid stuff. Joe's going to talk about a winner. He's going to talk about the famous Tim Waltz. Tim Waltz made a video.
Why you do that?
Tim Waltz made a video.
He's not. He doesn't live in Germany.
That's my best German accent. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so then we're going to get to Rants and Raves, where I'm going to talk a little bit about John Mulaney and his
can't wait to
was
hear
it
that.
planned or not sort of stand-up routine that he did at Dreamforce, which is making the rounds. And of course, Joe will rave about Brian Piper's new book, which surprisingly is more about Joe than it is about Brian. So that see what I did there.
Brian Piper's gonna love this.
I kid because
I probably will talk more about me, but
I'm sure you will. I am sure you will.
I changed a good thing.
All right.
Here we go.
Let's jump into this, shall we? And let's open up with our first news story, which comes courtesy of The Verge. And The Verge, the headline here is X will now let people you've blocked see your posts. Now, the people you've blocked, they say, will be able to view but not interact with your public posts. The article basically starts by saying X will now make your posts visible to users you've blocked. In a reply on Monday, X owner Elon, is it Leon or Elon? I think it's Leon. Elon Musk said the block function will block accounts from engaging with but not seeing public posts. Currently, X displays a "You're blocked" message when trying to view the profile of a person who's blocked you. In addition to blocking all posts, it also prevents you from seeing their replies, media, followers, and following list. While a source at X told The Verge that the platform is making this change because people can already view posts from users who blocked them when using another account or when logged out, several of us at The Verge, and myself included, this is the reporter now putting himself or herself into the first person, have noticed that X actually prevents you from viewing someone's profile if you are logged out. I don't think you can see anything if you're logged out, but that's a whole thing. Then they include a tweet from Leon basically saying, "High time this happened. The block function will block that account from engaging with, but not block seeing any public posts." What make you of this? This comes in, as we said, this comes right at the heels of their recent release, literally today or yesterday, of the transparency report that they put out, and we'll talk about that in just a second.
That's interesting, but I gotta say that I'm not against this move. I think.
Oh, okay. All right.
First of all, it's very on brand.
Yeah, there's that.
Let's be honest with this. His free whatever. Even though we can have the argument on what free speech means on the internet.
Yeah,
it's basically all content is fair game, no matter what, no matter who's seeing it. That's what Elon believes, and might as well do that from what I can gather when the article goes on, and I believe you can see tweets. You can't see profiles when you're logged out, but you can see tweets. So
Public,
theoretically,
those that you make public, yeah.
Theoretically, you're gonna be able to see somebody's posts if you log out, and they would have blocked you in the past. You just log out if you really want to stalk them. You log out,
right?
If they're public,
right.
But I don't have a problem with this. I was actually on The Verge. They've got 117 wonderful comments on here. It's actually, the comments are more interesting than the article, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And most of them are like, Twitter X is a cesspool. Why would anybody be on there? Of course, this is exactly what Leon wants to do, the whole thing. But I honestly don't see a huge problem with it as long as they can't interact with the tweet itself, because they can still see it. And you're on it's not like you're on your own private website or private community where you have a small group of people that you trust. This is social media. You put something out there, it's on you. It's on you to do it. And as long as they can't interact with it, I don't have a problem with it.
Right. Well, so here's a counter argument to that. And I have not tested this, so you'll tell me if I'm running astray here, which is,
well, I blocked you. Why don't
I've been side note, by the way, I got banned from Twitter.
You did what?
From X.
What did you do?
I deleted my account. And when I deleted my account, either someone picked up my namespace and then managed to get themselves banned, or they decided to just say I was banned instead of deleted. I mean, so I don't know, but if you go to my profile now on X, it says basically this user has been banned, which I kind of wear I'm going to wear that as a badge of pride.
You should put that on your website.
It's on my resume
on
for sure.
Site.
Yeah. It's on my LinkedIn profile.
X.
Banned from X. Yeah.
Banned from X.
In any event, my question is, if you block me, which apparently you did, and you block me, and I now see your public post, can I repost it? Because that's the problem I would see. If I can repost or retweet or re-X or whatever the word is these days, your particular post, then it's a little.
I don't think you can. Well,
it's a little goofy.
Okay,
right?
so let's take the words as they are written. You can't interact in any way if you're logged in to the platform. And if you're not logged in, you can't interact with it. You can see it. You can't interact. So theoretically, you cannot repost at all.
Okay. So if you can't repost it, or you can't at that person, in other words, you can't
can't do that either.
Right. You can't at the person because you're blocked.
You can just see it now.
Yeah. That seems to me like it would be fine then.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I think a lot of people, including us, in a lot of cases, we see everything that Leon does, and we're like, I hate it right away. But this just seems to make sense.
Well, it makes sense because, I mean, and that gets us to the sort of the transparency report here. You have to think that a lot of this is a need for content distribution, honestly, because so many people have blocked so many people now, that I got to imagine that opening this back up, basically it opens up a lot more content to a lot more people. And so there's a reason to do this for levels of engagement, with the platform, to basically be able to see, and I'm going to use the word here in rock and roll quotes, diverse content being, produced in that, sort of, as you say, on brand for Leon, but that you have to serve advertising against. And so if you've got all these blocked people, I'm sure there's a sizable number of them that are blocked by somebody, then that's a meaningful amount of content that can get distributed.
That's exactly right.
So
they opened up a whole new group of impressions,
which is
available to advertise against.
Part and parcel with the desperation that platform seems to be in right now, which is, as I said I replied to somebody on social media, and I basically said, this is I kind of said what you said, right? Which is, this is on brand, because their brand seems to be, you will interact with Twitter whether you want to or not. You know what I mean?
You're gonna like it.
Right?
You're gonna eat it. You're gonna like it.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about the global transparency report. I got it this morning as we record this on Thursday. I thought it was super interesting. That says a bunch of stuff that means absolutely nothing. So
yeah, exactly.
Let me set this up a little bit. I want to get your take. So it's X released their global transparency report.
That's right.
2024, and this is basically all the rules that they've enforced, all the actions that they've taken to push away harmful content and violent content and all that stuff to really show that they're doing. And this is from January to June or July of 2024. And actually, when you look at it, because they have user reports, here's all the things that were called in: abuse and harassment, child safety. They go through the whole thing. Then they go through all the enforcement actions. We enforced, just give you an example of how this, on abuse and harassment, we suspended over 1 million accounts. We removed or labeled 2.5 million accounts, and they go through child safety, hateful, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now, it's like a preponderance of data. It looks impressive. And then I get done it, and I don't know what to think because there's no context.
Exactly.
I don't know if these are a lot or these are little. What's the trend data? They're just numbers. I don't know if that's what you took from it, but I didn't know where to go.
Exactly what I took from it. I mean, it was the equivalent of telling you, I ate 100 jelly beans. Okay.
Is that good?
Is that
yeah.
So what are you saying? What's your point?
More?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at this through a critical lens, you look at those numbers and there's lots of millions, millions and millions. So there's millions of things that are being highlighted here. But is that what compared to what, right? And if you look at it through a critical eye, you're like, oh my God, so many million. It proves that Twitter is a cesspool of content because look at how many millions of things have to be blocked and how many things they've had to protect children from, and et cetera, et cetera. And if you're on the other side, you go, oh, look, millions and millions of things. They're protecting people and they're doing a great thing. So it absolutely says it's the opposite of transparency. Actually, it's literally just throwing a bunch of numbers up in a vomit and saying, look, we're doing stuff. We're busy.
And Leon can go out and say that he's protecting the people that need protecting.
Sure.
On their platform. And
this is done, by the way, for advertisers. This is not done for this is a marketing piece for salespeople and advertising. This is not for you.
Look, our platform is safe. We're keeping our platform safe. You can trust us. Right. You can put your brand all over, and it's going to be great. So I'm sure the salespeople love it. But they probably didn't read it. They're probably like, well, okay, here's what we're doing, and this is all we got. This is all we got. And everybody's going to cover it this week and say, wow, look at what X is doing, or look what X is doing. Like, we don't even know.
Well, exactly right. I mean, so it will be interesting to see that. And I suspect the headlines from this across mainstream media will hit probably, let's call it maybe tomorrow, as we go live with this, or maybe Monday or Tuesday, of next week. We'll start to really see the stories about this. And what you'll see are both sides, right? You're going to see if the publication is friendly to X, you'll see, headlines like Twitter proves it's trying to protect its audience with new transparency report. And if the publication is critical of X, it's going to say, Elon is trying to fake everybody out with a transparency report. And it's neither. It's just it's just a bunch of numbers.
Yeah, I have no idea why we're talking about. I feel like what's
interesting.
I said it to you. I felt like we had to talk about it.
Yeah.
But it really is nothing.
Right.
It's nothing.
Well, here's there's one interesting thing, which is if you assume for the moment that this is a relatively representative number of, across other platforms, right? So if you say this is a representative number of, what other platforms face, it just shows how small Twitter is right now. Because if you do the math and you sort of, you assume a certain level of percentage of people complaints and accounts blocked and all that kind of stuff. What it shows is that it's Twitter is right now a very small network.
Well, if I'm reading some of this right, this is where you have to do the January to June thing, because I think they ended up blocking or suspending more accounts than they have active users. So I'm trying to get, I'm like, well, what does this mean? You have all kinds of new users and bots. And I would like a little bit of explanation. Like,
You'd like a little transparency in there.
430 million blocked accounts is excessive for when you only have a couple 100 million active users.
That's right.
I don't know.
That's right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's accounts, right? Remember, those aren't active users. So it's like, what it says is that bots are invading. It just says, they've cleaned up a bunch of fake stuff.
But Leon likes his money.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Good. And we like money too.
I've been known to like it a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's act. You know what we should do? I like money. Yeah. Let's. I'm sorry, I didn't pick up on that at all. I'm an idiot. Yeah.
No, that's fine. Let's do that.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Does it feel like your teams are getting pulled in a million different directions on a million different platforms? That's why HubSpot brings everything into one easy-to-use customer platform. With everything at their fingertips, from AI-powered chatbots to instant performance insights, everyone can deliver killer results and grow revenue faster than ever. Because when your teams work better, your business grows better. Visit HubSpot.com to get started for free today. Are you weighing your next podcast? Why don't you try The Science of Scaling? Hosted by Mark Roberge and brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. Each week, Mark, the founding CRO at HubSpot, senior lecturer at Harvard Business School, and co-founder of Stage 2 Capital, he sits down with the most successful sales leaders in tech to learn the secrets, strategies, and tactics to scaling your company's growth. Mark's Q&A episodes are awesome for the straightforward advice from today's great business leaders. You can find Science of Scaling wherever you follow your favorite podcasts.
So calming.
I know.
Your music is calming to me. I did a speech this morning for a group of community college marketers, and it was
community college marketers. Okay.
It was lovely, actually. They're wonderful people. But what I talked to a couple people,
higher education marketers, generally speaking, are just lovely, wonderful people.
They are. I don't know.
They have a tough job. They have a tough job these days.
Extremely tough. But the one woman I was talking to said that throughout the college, they have so many people and so many groups that want to do podcasts. Like everyone wants to do a podcast.
100%. That's honestly, that's every business these days. I can't tell you how many clients, potential and otherwise, I speak to where somebody in leadership wants to do a podcast. They really, really want to do a podcast.
Yeah, it's like, she's like, well, what do you say to somebody when they want to do a podcast? I'm like, well, if it is some kind of a fit with what you're doing, because most of them want to talk about their programs or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's tough. You talk about your own products and services and stuff, it's not going to work. It's going to
there's been a couple of higher education case studies that I've done over the years about podcasts that have really worked. One, and I'll forget which schools they are, but one did a podcast targeted to alumni, which basically was sort of what's going on, what's going on that alumni would care about. And it was really successful. It was basically, here's, kind of an inside baseball, inside scoop sort of podcast, really targeted only to alumni of the college. And it was very successful. And the other was a podcast directed to new students who were ostensibly housed on campus, right? So those who were entering the dorms and stuff, and it was all the sort of secret hacks and things that you could do to get, to really succeed living on campus. That's the kind of cool stuff that
you can make sense with the program. I was just on one for Penn State where they have a new entrepreneurship program that's going on. And so they're looking for Penn State alumni who also are founders.
Oh,
And so they
right.
you get on there, they're not talking about Penn State, they're not talking about their entrepreneurship programs. They're talking with entrepreneurs who are talking about business and personal challenges of being a founder. Love it. Great.
Yeah.
All day long. So
Totally.
yeah. Plus they had me on it, so I'm partial to it.
Well, of course.
And, you know,
If there's anything that you love talking about, it's yourself. So
that's what my wife keeps telling me.
yeah.
And then she leaves the room. So I don't know how to take that, actually.
I even take it just exactly how it's meant. That's what
No, I when she leaves the room, I think she
There's
wants
not
me
a
to
lot of
keep talking.
subtext there.
I'm one of those guys that I'm really perceptive about picking up on other people's behavior. I just continue talking. All right.
Let's move
talk
on to
about
our
you.
next story
Let's talk
here, which
about-
is about the New York Times, and this comes courtesy of Axios. By the way, Axios redesigned their site, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan of what
Really?
they've done. Yeah, they've really done a nice job of redesigning the interface and stuff like that. I've always been a fan of the way that they format their stories, but they've also reformatted the website, and it's really good. Anyway, the headline here: New York Times to sell audio subscriptions through Apple and Spotify. Beginning next month, says Axios, the New York Times will make its audio subscription available for purchase through Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The big picture here is, well, more publishers, including Vox Media, The Economist, are starting to experiment with paywalled podcasts as part of its broader efforts to grow their subscription audiences. The quote from Ben Cotton, the Times head of subscription growth, is, a big part of our strategy is building direct relationships with our customers. In this case, we can effectively do that on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and that is the rub there that we'll talk about, using the technology that they provide. Come October, listeners will need to subscribe to the Times audio content to unlock older episodes of the Times hit shows, such as The Daily, The Ezra Klein Show, The Ezra Klein Show. That's what the way they have written it there. That's a typo, must be, unless Klein likes his name twice. The Ezra Klein Show. Anyway, Modern Love or Hard Fork. At launch, the 3 most recent episodes of The Daily will be available for free on any platform, but the deeper archive will be available to subscribers only. That's also something we can talk about. Anyway, what do you take from all of this and their sort of strategy to move forward with subscription-based podcasts for money, for dinero, the thing that we love?
Well, there's obviously an opportunity. I don't know if you heard about Tucker Carlson's new subscription platform. I know you were a subscriber.
Like the beginning of a joke. It really
I was nothing wrong with Tucker Carlson from a business standpoint. He's got a brand.
There is.
But I had to write this down. This morning, apparently over 400,000 people signed up to pay to receive Tucker's podcast, video cast.
Those are the same people who want to go to Antarctica and Iceland during World War III. Yeah. Okay.
And anyway, I'm going to ignore that comment that you just made. But so there is obviously an opportunity here if you need revenue generating products.
For sure.
I think at the same time, there's an opportunity for people that want to keep it free. But if you are a publisher and you're looking and you've got a really amazing niche loyal audience that you want to go after, 5 years ago you and I talked about some of this and we're like, we don't know if there's a product here. There's obviously a product here if the podcast information is good enough, valuable enough, whatever. And we're seeing the deals that Amazon Wondery's doing and Spotify and Sirius XM with these other podcasts. This is a lot more money than I think we anticipated with this slow growth. We always saw the slow growth, but now you're getting to a point where, we used this before. They're right sizing the category of spend. So you're seeing a right sizing of spend on the subscription side, as well as the advertising sponsorship side. And there's something there. I mean, but if I have a negative to this, and maybe you called this out a little bit, if you integrate directly with Apple Music and Spotify, I'm afraid that most of that data coming from your audience ends up going to those big tech companies. You're not going to get it. It's the same thing I've been railing about where, hey, you're going to sell your book on Amazon. Let's sell it direct so you get that data. I don't know how much data. Do you know how much data you'd get if somebody subscribed?
That was actually going to be my question, which is, I'm assuming, and I can dig a little deeper into this and find out for sure, but I believe unless things have changed with Apple, none of it. Like you get none of it. You become, like if you put an app up on the App Store, unless you require as part of your getting into the app or whatever, an email address, you don't, and then you get that email address obviously once you're in the app, but if you just basically can open an app and then say in-app purchases and stuff like that, and then double click on your phone to get that, Apple gets that data, not the app maker, right? So you are entirely beholden to them and basically building their customer base, not your own, from a data perspective. Spotify, I believe, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, they made that acquisition, and I'm forgetting the name of the company off the top of my head, that it was a really cool company that was doing sort of like what Substack does with email newsletters. They were doing it with podcasts.
Not Anchor.
Anchor. Yeah, Anchor, because Anchor had that situation where you could create a money-based subscription, but all the data was yours, right? All the data was the email addresses, the direct info, you had your audience, right? And I think Spotify still allows some of that. I don't know the answer to that question.
Maybe if you host with them, we're just making stuff up now.
Yeah,
but again, you make a great point. Before you make a decision like this, especially from a content marketing standpoint, which there might be an opportunity to gate and wall some of these things by payment or not.
That's right.
You gotta make sure that you see what you're giving up.
Yeah, exactly.
Or what you're not getting in the process, because this could be an amazing data play where finally, we've talked about forever, like, who are my podcast listeners that are on? We don't know who they are. We have to find them through different ways and surveys and things like that. But this would be something if you could get people to subscribe. But then if you have to play through the big tech companies, are you getting anything?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing, because it's the way it's handled now by, I think, the ones who are doing this in a really smart way, like Sam Harris and forgetting the guy who runs the podcast.
Sam goes direct, right?
Yeah, he goes direct.
Yep.
So you basically get the first 30 minutes of the interview or whatever for free, and then if you want the 2-hour version, you basically subscribe through his website, and then you get the access to the 2-hour version. Stratechery, the same thing, the strategy podcast, which is so good. I subscribe to that one, and it's the same kind of thing, right? You subscribe through the website and you pay through the website, then you get your access to.
How daunting is that process? I have not subscribed to a podcast outside.
It's not daunting at all. It's not daunting at all. It's very, very, very.
So that would be the first way to go. It's like,
which is why I
get them to your website.
Yeah. Yes. It's why I really question the approach here of only making the archives sort of, I mean, let's be honest, the daily, right? The daily news, who wants to go back and listen to the daily news from 3 weeks ago? I mean, really? Yeah. So, it seems like the Times, it seems very much like an experiment or a test here, because what I think I would have fought for, and obviously I don't have any intimate knowledge of what's going on here at the Times, but it's what would have made more sense to me would be to say, for your $6 or $25 or whatever, you get a package of podcasts, right? And you get either extra stuff, or you get longer versions, or you get, the whole show instead of a summary show. Yeah. You get basically all of it is behind that paywall, so that you're subscribed, very much like the same model that they do for the text oriented content, right? So when you subscribe to the Times, you can subscribe to the Times, but then for a little more, you can subscribe to the Athletic. You can subscribe to, any of the other, what's the affiliate site with the gear and the tech stuff, all these sort of extra properties. Yeah, Wirecutter, right? All of those extra things are just a little more money, right? And so you have packages of content that you can buy. I would have done the same thing with podcasts.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. I agree with you. The other thing is that I just didn't think about when I read the article is most of these podcasts have a video version. The number one video player for podcasts is YouTube. Are you saying you're going to gate that? Or you
right. It'll be interesting.
There's a bigger business decision here. That's why I almost think that the way that Sam does it, or a new way where you're delivering new and different things that are not available, or you just gate the whole thing. You're like, here's where you get it. If you want it, you have to sign up for it.
Yep.
But you have to have a good loyal audience. And again, back to the whole podcast argument we talked about. If you need to have, like, New York Times can do this, The Athletic can do this because they already have a loyal audience. It's very easy, much easier for them to then say, oh, now we're going to start a walled, gated podcast. And people are like, yeah, I want all that. I want everything. Rather than starting it fresh and saying, oh, we don't have an audience, but that'll never work. You have to come from some audience base first before you make this decision.
Exactly. It's a little bit like, their decision, the way that they did print, right? They kept print. It was a transition for them, right? So this feels like a similar kind of transition where they're basically saying, well, we need to transition to subscription versus ad-based podcasting models. So we're not going to pull the Band-Aid off and do it full stop. We're going to transition much like we did with print and take years to do it.
Good deal.
So perhaps that's the calculus, right? And they may have the data that shows that that's the way to go. It doesn't feel right to me.
It feels icky.
Doesn't it? It feels weird.
It feels icky.
Well, speaking of transitions and looking at publishing, The Onion is now doing some really interesting things. So the headline here, coming to us courtesy of Marketing Brew, basically the headline is why The Onion is returning to print and betting big on memberships. That was that second part that really piqued my interest. The publication is using TikTok to market subscriptions to Gen Z and exploring the possibility of print ads, CMO Layla Brilson said. The article opens up by saying America's finest news source hasn't been a print news source since the Harlem Shake was trending. Good opening line. I like that. Over the last 11 years, the state of print media hasn't exactly gotten stronger. But as of last month, the satirical publication The Onion, which GO Media sold to a group of media executives and journalists earlier this year, began circulating hard copies once again. Ben Collins, CEO of The Onion's parent company, Global Tetrahedron. Well, all right. There you go. There you go. That's a good name for it. I'll bet that domain was available. Told the New York Times that the hope is for the paper to begin turning a profit later this year. To help achieve that, CMO Layla Brilson told Marketing Brew that the plan is to lean heavily into memberships, which begin at $99 per year for a print subscription. Those who pay less can still gain access to member-exclusive emails and other periodic benefits, some of which Brilson said the publication is still deciding on. I love that for the turnabout. Remember about 2020, it was like buy the digital subscription and get print for free. Now it's buy the print subscription to get
Isn't
digital
that something?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Print is a huge part of it, she said. We want to be able to also do really fun, cool things with the archive, the digital edition, bizarre things that you'll find in your inbox, weird mailers, just really Onion stuff. Love this. What do you make of it? I have a feeling you're going to be a fan.
Well, so a couple things. People are drawn to physical items, physical goods. And I think now it's growing. Did you see the movie Kodachrome with
No.
Jason Sudeikis by chance?
Elizabeth Olsen? Did not. No.
It's on Netflix. It's one of those movies that, especially if you have a relationship with your father, like you'll cheer up. But the whole idea was he was a photographer, not Jason's father. I can't forget. Ed O'Neill. Can't think of the guy who started it. I
didn't see it, so I can't help you out.
Well, okay. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But he was a photographer, and they were ending the Kodachrome. Kodak was ending Kodachrome. You could only get it developed one more time at one place, and it was their trek out to get these 4 rows of film that they had from years ago developed. And throughout, they're talking about the importance of keep remembering something. And they say, hey, everybody takes thousands of pictures, but at the end of the day, when we're all dust, what are we going to have? Nothing. What we'll have is we'll have the actual pictures. We'll have something to hold on to. I think there's something about all this digital, and people still want to touch and feel the item, and that's important. Along with that, and we've talked about this, it's 100% deliverability. You don't have a lot of competition doing it. This is a real way to differentiate. And this is how The Onion, who's always focused on differentiation, this is definitely on brand, because they say we're going to be different, and people are willing to pay for that. People want to be part of a club where they get something. I want to be part of my Star Wars fan club and get my patch.
Yep.
Like there's more of that going on, I think, now, because there's so much that's digital. I don't know if this is going to work as a business model. I want it to work selfishly because I love this whole thing.
Yeah.
But again, I was talking this a speech this morning, talking about this thing where there's no one else doing this. This is not going to, in 3 years, we're going to be talking about a lot of really interesting case studies that are happening in print, because wow, we're just going to let all those people get mail 6 times a week, get nothing valuable. Wow. We know them. We can get their data. We can have them subscribe. We can have them even pay for it. Maybe we should try that. Maybe that's a good experiment to see if we can deliver valuable, relevant content to them on an ongoing basis. So I'm off my soapbox, but
no, it's good stuff. I mean, that's good stuff. And that's the reason so much that I love the fact that they're calling it, and even in the Axios article, they sort of don't focus on that angle, why they're calling it memberships instead of subscriptions. Yep. And I think that's because you're now, when you join a membership, you feel like you become a part of something, right? When you're subscribing, you're just basically getting content for money. It's a transactional type of relationship. And you're maybe a fan of that thing that you're a subscriber of, and you may be a loyal subscriber to that thing, but it is a customer, it is a customer sort of vendor type of relationship. When you become a member of something, you become part of that thing, or at least you feel like you're part of that thing. So it's the kind of thing where they could say, look, your membership gets you your print subscription, your email, your fun stuff that you're going to get in the mail, all the things that they do. And they can then revisit the business model as things evolve, right? They can say, you know what, print's not working. You as members, you've spoken. You don't want that. What do you want, right? And ask the members what it is that they really value. Thus, they feel like they're part of the answer and part of the solution. Thus, they become part of the community that helps you evolve the business model over time. So I have a little more faith, I think, in this business model than just purely going to print and saying we're just going to be subscribers to print. And I know it's a subtle, but I think it's an important nuance there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just thought of when we launched the Content Entrepreneur book, we launched just a regular, you can get a digital copy, you can get a paperback, or you can get a commemorative hardcover copy. So if you just look at those, nothing else, just look at that, you get about half that want that digital. It's much cheaper too. Yeah. You get another half, which is surprising to me, that still want the print. And then that print 50-50 is between, hey, I want the print, but I want the commemorative print as well, which it's the same content, folks. There's right. Nothing different in it. It's got a hardcover and it's pretty. And you can put it on your coffee table or whatever you want to do. So I'm trying to figure out, what's the human behavior in this? I guess I'm leaning toward a lot of people prefer this, and they actually treat it much differently. They value that a little bit differently, and maybe the Onion's picked up on that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
All right, let's get to our winners and losers here. Our winners and losers, where Joe and I pick a winner or a loser as it pertains to what's gone on last week in marketing. And would you like to go first with your?
I'll go first. I don't have to spend a long time, but I don't know if I can bring this up here. So a few days ago, the Harris Walls campaign launched the manual with Tim Walz.
Tim Walz.
Did you see this?
I did. I didn't see the whole thing, but I did see the beginning when he's got the truck out there and he's going to fix I think it's the cruise control he's going to fix on the truck. And
this is just, it's brilliant. We're playing it on you can see him do this. So this guy obviously knows his cars. He's got an oldie car that he's working. I don't know a lot about cars, but he's working on it. It's
an old International.
There you go.
That's great.
It goes through it. He's open. Yeah. He opens this up. He goes in, he shows it. Here's what you got to do. Here's how you maintain it. Here's how you fix it. Now, I think he pushes the campaign promises a little too much in. So it really is. It's kind of a campaign ad, but you've got it. I wish they would do less of that, because I think this is super valuable content. I think there's a show here. I think people love him. They're gravitating toward him. But this is brilliant. If you follow the comments, most comments on YouTube are fairly negative. You go through the first, I just go through the first couple hundred of comments on this. It's almost all like, oh my God, I had no idea. If this guy loves this, if this guy is I wish we had him in the White House, all kinds of stuff. It's just interesting. So they just launched this. I don't know if this is a regular. I hope they just do this on a regular basis. I think every week they should have one of these out. More than that, actually, would really help. They've got whatever in 5 days, you got 1 million viewers. We'll see where it goes. So I just thought it was super interesting. Really good marketing effort.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good content marketing, basically, for and arguably they may be inserted a little too much of the brand or a little too much.
That's what I thought. So like if we were a content marketer, we're like, you're talking about the product just a little too much.
Yeah.
I'd tone back. I think you'll pick up more interest from people that don't vote for them if he tones it back a little bit. It's not bad though. It's not.
Or it could be, and it probably, I mean, look, they're busy, right? So they're busy right now, and so fitting this into the schedule, I'm sure, was inordinately difficult. But then it's like you figure if they could have more cleverly inserted the, where it almost becomes a wink to the camera, right? About inserting a campaign promise or something like that, as he's fixing the truck, it becomes more interesting, right? But that just takes a lot of time to put that level of care and feeding into the script, which needed to be. It's like, no, we need to get this thing done, right?
Here's the thing: let the content speak for itself. What they want to present is they want to present Tim Walz as a regular middle class person.
That's right.
If he's just fixing his car, and it's brilliant. He talks it well. He's got a good game going on. Just do that. You don't have to do any. You don't even have to say anything about your campaign, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just a regular guy here. That's all
fixing the car, fixing the economy. I mean, it fixes it. There's so many opportunities there for the kinds of double entendre that would have been just fantastic, right? As the cruise control. There's so many wonderful metaphors that could have been explored there. But like you said, they missed an opportunity maybe, but it's still good content.
All right, what's your winner or loser?
Well, I have a loser this week, and I know that's not a big, huge loser or anything. This is going to go forgotten in the next, couple of weeks here. But LinkedIn, I guess my loser here is LinkedIn, and it's because of the way that they handled the rollout of AI, right? So, by the way, quick side note: did you notice that they have very quietly, like nobody made any note of this? I've really been very interested to see that nobody's really said this on LinkedIn, which is they removed all the AI suggested comments, right? All that's gone now, right? So when you go to your LinkedIn, those ham-fisted sort of really clumsy and cringy AI comments
that's probably good because you get.
It's good. I mean, sure, they went, nobody's using these things and everybody hates them. So let's get rid of them and make them smart. But what they did also do this week was, and it was 404 Media who broke this story, who basically said, look, they're scraping content and data from the platform to train their AI learning model. And then they updated their terms and services to basically reflect that, and that you can indeed opt out of it, right? It's already an opt-in, but you basically can go and change your settings to opt out of it. And so people are, as you might expect, a little, bummed out and outraged that not that necessarily they did it, but they basically waited so long to announce that they did it. And TechCrunch is reporting this, that basically that they did it and then told us they did it and then basically changed the terms of service. And boy, is that, and what baffles me is the lack of communication or collaboration here that happens between marketing and legal. We saw it. I ranted about this about Adobe, like, I don't know when it was, like June of this year. And then Meta, same thing in the same year. I think this is May or June that Meta had the same thing. Zoom, remember we talked about it, Zoom last year, where they basically had, the terms and conditions come out and basically everybody had a toxic freak out about what was going to happen here about their data and AI and teaching learning models. And then they went, yeah, we kind of already been doing it. And so you can opt out, but it's kind of already done. And so the interesting thing to me here is that I can't figure out why these companies can't learn this lesson, right? About not about doing it, but about the optics of doing it. And there have been a couple of great examples of companies who've really done this well, who've basically said, hey, listen, down the road, we're going to do this. So if you want to opt out of this, you want to opt out now. We're updating our terms and conditions. It's not happened yet, but it's going to happen. And this is what's going to happen. And this is what you can do about it. And this is what it means. And did a really nice job of communicating that they're going to do this. And you don't hear about them because basically it doesn't make any news. This is making news for all the wrong reasons for LinkedIn. And it just, levels of communication and collaboration here between marketing, legal, PR, comms, whatever the groups are that handle these things, seems to me to be just such a no-brainer. It just baffles me why they haven't been able to figure this out. So they're a loser because everybody's talking about how awful this is. It's not that awful. I mean, it's LinkedIn. I mean, it's our LinkedIn content that they're trying. I mean, it's LinkedIn, right? It's going to make LinkedIn more LinkedIn-y. And so we're not talking about putting pictures of your kids up here. We're talking about your business, your resume, your data, which, by the way, they've already had.
Yeah.
They're just going to be applying an AI learning model to the data that they've already had and you've already given them willingly. And you want out there anyway, right? Nobody's making their LinkedIn profile, private to their connections anyway. So I think it's a lot of fuss that didn't need to happen, because if they would just collaborate better. So that's why they lose they lose a couple of brand points today in the game of marketing.
Well, I think that if everyone's smart, on one day out of every month is the day that you check your settings in every social media platform you're on, and you can go in and see what they've added. Because they're going to opt it. They're going to automate. All these big tech companies got together and say, we're just going to, don't say anything. Just add them. Add them.
That's right.
That's basically what's happening.
It was funny. In my news this week, I make mention of this. And what I said is basically, that, the thing I say all the time, which is 90% of content strategy has nothing to do with content. It's about the collaboration and cooperation that you have with your colleagues, about the way that the brand speaks to its audiences. And so I said, just like you check the smoke alarm batteries every time the time changes, daylight savings and going forward, you should basically, every time daylight savings happens, or every time any company comes out with their new terms of service, you should probably do a check of your content strategy to make sure you're saying what you want to be saying and collaborating. So check your content strategy batteries, folks.
It's great advice. Do it.
Yeah.
All right. You should do that as a post, and you should call it that. Check your content strategy batteries. This is how you do it.
Oh, okay. All right.
You can own that.
I'm writing that down, Joe. I'm going to write that down.
You can do that. It's going to be a post. It's going to have a great audience outcome and good search algorithm. Okay, go ahead.
It's going to go viral.
It's going to go great. It's going viral to 7 people. Okay.
It's good. You're going to do it. All right. Hold on. I'm going to get in trouble.
Your post is going to change. Your content strategy is going to change lives. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Moving along to our rants and raves. When Joe and I go off on a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a rave over something that makes us feel like we've just come from Sorry. I can't totally. I crack myself up. Something that makes us feel like we've just come from Diddy's house. Or
what? You went back to it. Oh,
come back to it. Gotta make myself cry with that one. Anyway, or something that makes us feel like we avoided the party altogether.
How did the white parties? They were from 2003 to 2009. They were just white parties, and they just everybody dressed up in white, and it seemed like a place where people wanted to go. And then you get 1,000 bottles of baby oil show up. Like what? Yeah, exactly. What was what happened?
Diddy happened is what happened. I mean, that guy is apparently, he's I mean, I don't think we need to go any further than that. He's
probably not.
Yeah,
probably not.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, what do you got? A rant or a rave?
No, I've got a rave. It's a little bit self-serving, but it's okay. I'm going to give a couple raves out here. So this is epic content marketing for higher education from our friend Brian Piper. Just came out, just got it in the mail. Go to brianpiper.com to get it. I'm very proud of Brian. It's funny, if you we talked about this before the show. If you want to write a book with somebody that you think is doing some good work, Brian did it the best way possible, because Epic Content Marketing did fairly well. It was a book I wrote in 2012, and in a forum, Brian said, "Are you going to come out with another version of Epic Content Marketing?" I said, "No, I'm not going to do another one." And he reached out and he said, "Well, if you're thinking about doing one, let me know." And he basically said, "I'll help you do the version 2." And so Epic Content Marketing, the second version, came out in 2023. Brian Piper and I wrote it together. Brian did a lot of the heavy lifting. It's just an interesting, very good strategy, Brian. And then I also have to give out a little love to, can you get that? Marketing AI, Modern AI Marketer, Pam Didner's new book. And she did a great job as well. And these are both published by Tilt Publishing. I'm very proud of the team at Tilt. They're doing a great job.
Yeah.
We're very excited about helping these marketers get their books out there.
Fast too. Holy smokes. That was fast.
Oh yeah. I mean, from manuscript to publication, I'll take the Pepsi challenge on that one with anybody to get it out there and then help these authors sell directly, get that data.
Yeah.
So anyways, good. But congratulations to
that is the differentiator, by the way. That is the differentiator. Traditional publishing is a year, right? It's there, and you can't change it. You cannot change it. It's a year that you have to
get in their schedule. Yeah, you got to get in their sales catalog and do the whole thing.
I mean, it's a whole thing. And so if you have a book and you can crank it out quickly, you can be done in months, a few months, a quarter, probably.
Yeah. It depends on that. And then also, let's create a marketing plan so that you can actually send your followers to your website.
That's right.
You can get that direct connection. That's the other big difference. Well, we're really trying to push that differentiation.
Yeah.
Because nobody else is pushing it. Everybody's like, sell it on BNN, sell it on Amazon, have them get your data.
Well, that's an ego thing, right? Yeah, that's definitely an ego thing. And
it's a big fight.
Yeah,
I've had quite a few conversations with lovely people, and they say, you know what? I have to do the post on Facebook and LinkedIn where I'm number one in a category for a day. I'm like, if you need that, it's fine. I would rather have the people coming to my site and knowing who's buying it and getting their data and getting them signed up for my newsletter and building long-term relationships with them instead of not knowing them and getting, 30% of the price.
Preach.
Yeah, I feel like I'm doing a sales pitch a little bit, but anyways, what do you got?
You're talking about yourself, which is what you do well. Okay. All right. All right. Mine's commentary more than anything else. So I was not there, but I have many friends who were there, and they are a former client, current client, I should say, at Salesforce, at Dreamforce this last year. So last week they had John Mulaney. I think they had a million different kinds of great big stars that as they always do at Dreamforce. But John Mulaney was the comedian that they brought out. And he proceeded to basically roast everything about Salesforce. If you haven't seen the news coverage on this, there are plenty of places covering it. Some of my favorite comments, or I guess, infamous, let's put it that way, comments that he made when he talked about the fact that he said, there are 45,000 trailblazers at this conference. Have you seen that you've successfully sucked all the meaning out of the word trailblazer for 45,000 of you here? He talked about fleece vests. He talked about the idea of just of how you're hosting this. I mean, this one was rather mean, where he said you're hosting this conference in San Francisco that has basically pulled all the humanity out of of everything. It's like he was brutal. He was brutally roasting the Salesforce and the audience that was there. There's quite a bit of sort of debate over whether they knew or not he was going to do that. I can't imagine that they did. Know that he was going to go.
You don't think they knew he was going to roast him?
No. And the reason I don't think that here's what I think. I think that they probably knew that he was going to be funny and probably make fun of Salesforce a little bit, because that's him, right? I mean, I can't imagine that they didn't know that that's his style of comedy. But I don't think they knew he was going to go that far. I think that was probably, and the reason I don't think they knew he was going to go that far is because they're not saying anything, right? No one from Salesforce is saying anything. And, they're not going, well, we knew he was going to do that. We knew we knew what we were getting into when we hired John Mulaney to do, that would have been the reaction.
No, you know what happened? That next week, speaker coordinator for Dreamforce was just let go.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's going to happen.
Moved on to other things.
Oh, no.
By the way, did you see this? We didn't cover this at all, but did you see that Mira Murati, the CTO of OpenAI, had quit this week?
I did not.
Yeah, that's breaking news as well. She's left the company, and everybody's trying to speculate why she left the company. But yeah, she's yet another in the executive office that has left. You got to figure there's a reason.
There's a soap opera going on there.
Oh boy, there's a big soap opera going on there.
So, I mean, I'm sorry, I totally cut you off. You're just commentary on John Mulaney? Are you saying that Dreamforce did something wrong? Or
no, God, no. My commentary is, well, here's my point. I have a point. I promise I have a point. My point is that this is yet another learning for us as we start down the road of influencer marketing, right? Influencers, the more influential that they are, or the bigger that they are, the less control you have over them. So you have control until you don't. And their messaging, the way that they, it's one of those things. It's definitely a caveat emptor idea. Like, know what you are buying when you buy influence from someone who makes their living from talking in a very particular way and making sure that your brand, and that's what you want your brand to say, because like it or not, him being up at Dreamforce is going to leave the impression of, well, Dreamforce made the decision, Salesforce made the decision to have him get up and speak. Now it's a little less, I think, damaging in this particular case because, I think probably most people there got the joke. And B, it's not like he's been this long-term sort of voice of Salesforce. So he's literally just a speaker, but it's like, it's a big red warning flag to say, this is what can happen when you hire an influencer. Yep. So just be very careful about your influencers and the ways that you come to collaborate and communicate with them about what they're going to say and how they're going to say it, because you run the risk of these kinds of things every day.
I can't remember what year was Nick Offerman at Content Marketing World.
That was 2015, 16,
something around there. I can't remember.
16, 17. Yeah.
But what you just said reminded me of, Nick Offerman going on stage and singing the Cunnilingus song was a surprise. I didn't see that one coming, and nobody really wanted it.
It didn't really go over that well.
Really resonate. Yeah. And so, you have to be careful.
As opposed to the very first Content Marketing World, when
Kevin
we had
Smith.
Kevin Smith, and he was Kevin Smith. I mean, he was as foul-mouthed and told the same kind of sort of big stories that he always tells. But you knew what you were getting into, right? You knew what you were getting into, and I think the crowd loved him. I think the crowd.
Well, also too, when we had Kevin Smith, that was at the comedy club. It was outside the regular event. And then Kevin Smith, when he did his closing presentation, he talked about his business model, Smodcast, the whole thing. And I mean, he had a couple pieces of foul language in there, but it was very informational there. So I think that's where I thought we were a little bit better than what happened with Nick Offerman. Nick Offerman's was part of the regularly scheduled programming, and I'm backstage going, "Oh, please be over."
Well, you were just glad.
Please stop.
You were just glad he made it to the stage because he was so late. Yeah.
Someday I'm going to write about that experience. One of the worst professional experiences of my life was that day. Yeah. That's when I lost my cool. So
yeah,
never again.
All right. What do you got going on?
Well, I'll be traveling next week, starting tomorrow, which is why we're going to do a very, very special edition.
Very special next week. I'm
so excited about this.
Yeah, it's going to be totally fun.
Oh man. Do we say what we're doing?
Tell them.
Special guests. We got special guests. We've got 8 or 9 very special guests that are bringing their questions on. We're going to do it. They have got their video It's going to be lovely. They're really interesting questions. Some are very fun. And
They're totally
it's
fun.
going to be incredible. So how about you? What do you got going on?
I got work to do. I got to travel to San Francisco tomorrow, and then I'm back for the weekend. And I'm hoping to get some stuff done for Content Marketing World. I'm in sort of heads down mode right now, creating presentations and writing and creating a bunch of stuff. And I have a bit. Let's call it a bit of a surprise for Content Marketing World. I have a new thing that I may launch.
Surprise!
Big surprise. Yeah, there you go.
All right, that sounds great.
All right, well, there you go. So thank you so much for attending. And yes, we do have a big, wonderful show for you next week. So be sure to tune in next week. Be sure to tune in every week, really. And until we see you again next week, just remember it's your story to tell. You tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing.
Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.